So, carrying on this month's theme of atmospheric landscapes, and last week I didn't demo. We just had a bit of a general chat about what we thought of as would constitute an atmospheric landscape, and a lot of it came down to sort of landscape and weather effects, but interacting with the light, how the light is. So I've got a few photos that I've taken that could, I think, of quite sort of interesting, dramatic weather effects. And also, I was thinking I'll use thought I'd use watercolours and maybe a little bit of pastel. So thinking about the sort of mediums that are very easy to take outside if you wanted to go out and do some sketching or things like that. I'm planning to. So last week we went to Hadley, a couple of us, and did a little workshop there at Hadley, which was really lovely. The next one I've got planned is Monday the 23rd in Malden. So if anybody fancies coming on to that one, Monday the 23rd. Right, okay, so I'm thinking, quite like this. This was actually a photo I took a little while ago when I was out walking with my wife, and it's just such lovely dramatic lighting. Well, that might be fun to try. I think very difficult. But I thought I'll start off with watercolours, and if it doesn't go well, we can always put some pastel over the top. So I'm going to dampen the paper particularly just going to work on the sky actually to start with. So the idea would be paint the sky in, let that dry, and then add all the landscape elements. So just
it's the watercolour.
Yeah. I thought I'd try a little bit of watercolour. So just a nice big brush. I find my watercolours a nice big natural hair brush absorbs lots of moisture, so it's easy to get that nice and wet. If you've just got a nylon brush, that's still, you can still use those, but you'll be able to get the paper wetter quicker with that sort of brush. And then I haven't mixed any colours yet. Let's find get some colour mix. So we just really want some blues and greys really. So a little bit of cerulean blue and a little bit of ultramarine as well. Probably mix the two together, or we could use cobalt blue, that would be fine. So it's quite a strong blue around here, and that helps this sort of tonal contrast, gives it the drama. So I need plenty of a strong blue. I don't know if that's going to be enough. And then I'm going to use a slightly smaller brush, but not too small, because I still need to get the paper covered quite quickly. So this is a reasonably strong mix of blue. And I'm just going to dampen that again. When I did the demo on Tuesday, the top bit dried really quickly. So let's give that another dampen just so that it's good to go. And that's quite nice. So I'm working into a wet surface, so I'm getting these nice sort of soft edges. And where the clouds are, I want to leave some clouds. Ideally, obviously, you want your watercolour paper a little bit more, maybe an angle a little bit like that. This is far too vertical, really. But so you can see what I'm doing. And then these come right down here, down to sort of about here. It doesn't really matter if I go over the castle, because that's going to go darker. I'm running out of colour, so let's mix a bit more. A tiny bit of water. I don't want to introduce too much extra water, otherwise it will all just bleed everywhere. Now that top bit is already starting to dry out, so I just need to work really quickly. And then the other thing I need to mix is a sort of greyish tone for some of these greys. So I'll leave that for the blue. That's kind of there. And that's working quite nicely. I've got various colours on my palette. I'm just going to mix a grey with. That's the quickest way. And these areas got some nice sort of strong clouds in here. And I think with watercolours, a lot of it is just knowing just how wet to have the paper. So if it's too wet, but I think that's just about right. Like that. Just let that go into the castle bit. And as I'm coming down towards the horizon, I want to make these smaller slightly thinner lines. So that could be that bit. Just take some of the paint off the brush, just want a little bit over here. Yeah, I'm going to actually just add a tiny bit of water on that lighter and take some of that off the brush. I don't bring too much water in. Yeah, so it's a slightly lighter version of the grey. Yeah, that's one that went well, I think. Sometimes, yeah, but right, the other thing I could do, and actually almost seems a shame to do much more really, but if I want to lift any areas out, just get a brush that's, you kind of dampen it and then just dry it off. And then it could be that if I just want to lift a little bit of highlight here, just lift a little bit out before it dries. Okay. So you just get a little bit more, that sort of thing going. Okay, right, so that's that one. That's the one that's gone fairly well. Okay. The one that didn't go so well on Tuesday was that one. And that was based on that one. So it's not too bad, but with something like that, I could then possibly make some alterations with pastel. So that's dried now. But I could turn it into more of a mixed medium type image. And to be honest, I'll probably get as many if not more than failures with watercolour than I do with successes. So let's just pop that up there a minute. So if I wanted to kind of draw in some highlights again, perhaps something like that, that might be quite nice. Just a little bit of white pastel, work that right in. That's a bit, just soften some of these edges a little bit. And perhaps around here, you can just kind of add little highlights. So it doesn't have to be a lot, but just sometimes a few subtle alterations, maybe a few greys in there too. Soften that out, a little bit of grey. Just adding other colours into maybe a little bit of lilac mixed in there. So basically one that's gone wrong, you can then just play around and experiment a little bit with. And these are both mediums that aren't too difficult. If you want to work outdoors, they're not too difficult to carry. They'll dry fairly quickly, and then they're easy to transport home. I can soften that out with my fingers if I want. The other thing was sort of, there's this one here, which I was trying to get the effect of sort of these clouds and the mountains, and it wasn't perfect really, but again, perhaps with some greys, I could just kind of soften that out. Yeah, that gives more of a feeling, perhaps clouds descending. Yeah, I'm just happy with that already, and then a little bit of light. So you just sort of create a bit more of an atmosphere, just combining the two mediums. Both difficult on their own, but I think together you can get some quite nice. Okay. Anyone there? Yeah, all good to go? Right, okay.
Looking down from